family's important.
Right.
So it gave me the opportunity to actually slow down a little bit in some weird, selfish way.
Well, to focus, to prioritize.
Right. And then also to say, when I leave this house, I'm getting rest. And even if it was on the road, I felt like I got more rest. How many guys did we tour with? And they're like, oh, we left the babies home, and now we feel like we actually are getting, this is where I get up to go to sleep and actually have some rest.
That's funny.
So part of, when you were asking me about vocal rest, so for me, like a lot of people ask me, because my voice has been my everything, my salvation, my tool for my entire life.
You are I always say this, like, I feel like I'm a musician, I'm a writer, I'm all of these things.
As you are,
but like you are, I never felt like that vocalist. Like you are,
really?
To me, your calling is your vocal. Like
Absolutely.
your voice is your,
Yes.
feels like from the outside when I'm watching you, like the world could be crumbling around you,
Yes.
but you can rely on your voice.
Yes. And
So that had to be very daunting.
it was very daunting because this year I had a struggle with it. I mean, I really did because the commitments were high. The and at 50, I'm now 50, and I've gone through menopause now. I'm in it. All these things which you're going to be going into, so things will get more fun unless you've already entered that phase. So I'm just saying, like all these things, these challenges, our body as a woman come across, and then also mentally and emotionally, I've ran a household by myself, primarily. Yeah, I raised these kids. I hired a surrogate. I couldn't carry them. I physically had surgery as a child on my bladder and kidneys. So this was really, I've always been in tune with my body because at such a young age, it was forced on me to say, well, you can't drink really all that much because you're going to get a bladder infection, or just the obvious thing. Everybody has their conditions. But when it came to my voice, the biggest thing I always felt was I always told people rest. And so what does rest mean? The hardest thing to do is we sing, but when we broke, 1988, 1987, there was no internet, there was no cell phones. We had to show up physically for every single interview.
I always say we earned,
and
we earned our audience like 200 people,
at a
drunk
time.
people in a club at a time.
Absolutely.
Right.
There's no other way you can say it.
Yeah,
we relied so heavily on record companies, which now is like, if I had YouTube, if we had all these other things when we were breaking, what a different,
yes, we could reach a lot of people.
Our reach would have been,
Yeah.
but regardless, we had a system in place. We were part of the machine.
Yes.
But the machine meant we went to 5 radio stations a day,
Yes.
in the morning and the noon, and what's the only tool? I got so jealous of my guitar player, of my piano player. You had a piano in front of you. All I had was a microphone, meaning that they could take their instrument and put it away in a case,
Right.
and they wouldn't have to
No,
tax
I
it.
always say
and
that.
hurt
Well,
it.
the thing people don't realize too is everything affects the voice. What you eat, how much you
Everything.
sleep, what you breathe, what you think.
Show them a little hump.
No.
Debbie doesn't want it. Debbie said, "Can I bring a dog?" I go, "Yeah," but I mean, there's going to be humping going on. There's going to be hump day in here.
There is. It's hump day. It's Sunday, but at Taylor Dayne House it's hump day.
Well, it's a hump day every day if you could bring a dog. I mean, Rufus doesn't care. Does not care.
Oh my gosh.
So the biggest thing for me was always, and even raising children, I said, sleep, because the silence you do, and of course, even our spiritual practice, our emotional practice, our mental, everything starts inside. It's a spiritual practice.
Yes. Calming the mind is, to me, the hardest.
I know that for you because we have very many mutual friends. Debbie is a force of nature, and many of our mutual friends, like she just doesn't stop. She doesn't this. I understand. I do understand.
I try to turn.
I mean,
it off.
her mom. I know. I mean, we live very close to each other in Long Island, and yes, but we both have very active minds and mentally, and yet at the same time, dis-ease in your body is what's going to have you stop. For me, it was my kids helped me take a look and take a view back, and it allowed me to lay in bed and say, I can't, I'm with my kids today, or I can't be there, and show up and do. And also it became, you have a thin line between what you can and can't do. Your body will start dictating.
I know, I've started to learn that it's okay to say no to things and people.
Yeah.
And that even if you can do something, it doesn't mean you should, and that it's good for you.
And that's a really important thing as women, because I remember feeling I would have such anxiety if I said no, I can't do it, and they'd be like, well, it's really important and really shouldn't. I'd be like, well, how? I mean, I remember once got so sick on the road when I was in Japan, and I just couldn't continue. And it was physical, but it was also just emotionally, I was completely drained. I was on the road for 15 months. I mean, like I said before, there was no internet. There was no, we physically had to be in every country and sometimes in Europe, you know that we were in England, France, and generally on a plane to Spain in the evening. I remember I was. I mean, so
I remember Asia trips like that, where you're in a different
Really?
country every 2 days, and then your travel day's your day off, but it's not.
is that a day off?
It's not a
Well,
day off,
in
yeah.
my mind, we made it a day off, but
Yeah,
I
exactly.
understand.
Yeah. So it was.
So I think at our age and how we look and how we maintain. So this is coming from the goats of the day. We are the, definitely the old timers and
say the OGs.
we are the OG years. We are OG, but we're getting in the goat years, baby.
But I feel like there's such a resurgence for us and for, again, we were just talking, like we said before, like we were saying in the pantry, I look at Gwen Stefani and J-Lo
Gwen's killing it.
and all these people
Well,
are having
they're at
this,
the.
but they're having this new, for me, this second chapter that's better than their first.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's
Time of their
so
lives. Time of
inspirational.
their lives.
And I feel that way too. So I feel like the idea of age being a detriment is definitely not true, because
Not anymore.
I feel way better right now than I did 10 years ago.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
do
like,
too.
And you can tell, right, you
I
guys?
do too.
Amazing.
I do too. And I so understand that, and I'm so
But I
happy.
think the awareness helps with that. Like, because 10 years ago, like, especially, I see a lot of men right now who are like 40, and they're like in this, like, I'm invincible stage, and I'm like, wait a decade. Like, you have, I think the awareness, like we said, of what you can and can't or should, or, what you should be choosing to do, what's really good for you, that awareness is everything.
Well, and it's
It's
an
not a
internal. It's
limitation,
an
it's
internal journey. I have to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
I mean, everything you see on the. That's why I bring up these supermodels, because everything you see on the outside, they're. We grew up with the supermodels. They're 50s. They're in their mid 50s. They're in their 60s, and everything is an internal journey. Without that internal journey, that's going within, listening, going within, then you can find the practitioners.
Right,
that work
whatever
for
that is,
you.
yeah.
And for me, it's been an endocrinologist. I work with one of the top endocrinologists in the world, but working with her has helped me with everything you physically see, because I'll go in there and say, emotionally, I'm a wreck, my anxiety, and we'll look at, we'll do what doesn't lie is blood, pee, poo, spit. Does it?
So that
No.
is true for me, though. So for me, again,
Yeah.
it's like I rely on the muscle testing, and it's energetic,
Kinesiology.
the kinesiology, and I find, again, for me, it's so specific to like what's going on in that moment in that day,
Incredible.
and then my practitioner can work on it like right then, and a lot of times it traces back to an emotional event. So there could be like something
Incredible.
organ related, like. For me, like just this morning, I had breakfast. Dr. Sahara, who's out here
So is
in
it
LA.
kinesiology? Can you explain that for 1 second? So is it kinesiology?
Yeah,
that you
so
do?
it's chiropractic kinesiology. So it's
Okay.
kinesiology with like adjusting if you need it, but a lot of times you don't even need it.
Okay.
And the way they work is they do stuff along the acupuncture meridians as well, but just not with needles.
So is it therapy, or
incorporates-
is it a physical, like acupuncture is?
No, so it's so hard to explain. So, the muscle testing can, and also like testing your muscle. So if I lay flat on the table and he goes, lift your right leg, and if that muscle goes weak, it might be because of the food I ate, an emotion I'm feeling. It might
Okay.
be because of something chemical I was breathing if I was in some restaurant or casino the night before, whatever those things are. And he traces it and figures it out. I joke that with me, like an ankle's not just an ankle on me. It hardly ever is. Unless I did something physical to hurt myself, chances are it's a meridian. It's energetic, it's emotional, it's organ related.
Wow.
So, yeah, so even just this morning, I said to my friend who's a doc out here, I said, I feel this thing right here. He goes, is it when you reach this way or back? I go back. He said, that's your spleen. He said, and that's your immune system. He said, it's actually in here that's affecting here. And so what I would do a lot of my life is I would go to these body workers and be like, you need to fix this. So I had too many people working on me from the outside and nobody figuring out why these things were happening.
Okay, so how would you fix a spleen? So what does that mean?
So that could be literally like there's points that either get rubbed, there could be a supplement. Like I just kicked up my echinacea today. I just kicked echinacea in today. It's very simple, and I know the specific things that work for me, for adrenals,
Right.
I mean, it could be that like they have like that activator thing, and it could be as simple as breathe in, breathe out, and there's a spot on the
Oh, you
along
mean
the
those
back.
like chiropractors use that
Yes,
a lot? I've
yes.
noticed that. Yeah.
But it's the most non-invasive because my body was tired of. I went to the hardcore body workers. I went to too many people that were cracking me, and my body decided at a certain point. Like I used to be known as like super hardcore. Then my body became more fragile with that stuff and was like, or specific.
That's true. You did go through a very big workout. You were really, really.
I was like
training
an
hard.
Olympic athlete.
Yes.
Like, and now I walk, I swim, I do light yoga. I just do the like minimum to keep a flow and keep my body warm, but not to overdo to then recover. Those days for me are over.
Which
because I
understand.
I just don't need to do it.
Yeah.
It taxes me in the wrong way. So,
and you look better than ever.
Thank you.
So obviously muscle memory is there.
Totally. And I try to keep my reserve. So like even from the tour till now, I gained like 10 pounds, which at first I was like, I'm like, you know what? My body's trying to allow me to have reserves right now.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it. And I'm like, some days I wake up and I'm like, I want to go hiking. I'm like, no, because your energy is perfect right now to get through a day. So just leave it be. That's my big lesson.
You are really...
I have to underdo. Because I know how to overdo. I'm like the least lazy person I know, but my problem is doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to go, okay, let me just take a more minimalistic. It's like the kid that gets sick and wants to go back to sports right away. And so now I go, if I feel like I should take a day, let me take a week. And then ease back in, because otherwise...
And that doesn't feel like a luxury for you? That's just what you need to do?
It's what I need to... No, the luxury for me is being able to go hit it, like hike and work out, and that's luxurious to me.
Amazing.
So for me to pull back is challenging, but it's just become my way of life so that I can continue healing and staying on top of my health and not constantly crashing and recovering.
And for me, I feel like sleep, knowing that silence, going internally and taking that time.
Yes.
Meditation, filling my mind with positive thoughts, with abundant thoughts, with things that are going to...
Thoughts are everything. Like,
thoughts
I try
are
to really shift.
everything.
Yeah, if you can interrupt the negative thoughts, because we do it all day long. So I started doing something kind of funny, and it sounds simple maybe, but like, if I look at my dog and go, oh, I love you, like I exaggerate every emotion. I go, you are the most amazing dog. You're the luckiest mommy. Or if I look in the mirror and I go, wow, your eye makeup looks good today. I'll go, that is amazing. Because like we criticize ourselves to death. So I decided to try to like amp up the positive now, to just
for you.
be my own biggest
That's an
cheerleader.
exercise.
It is an exercise.
So you've learned to are you maintaining it?
I am.
Well, then that's practice.
It's because now I'm joyful no matter what the outside circumstances are going on.
Okay, was that in your head when you were 25, 35, when you were 20?
No, definitely not.
Okay,
Definitely
so I can
not.
promise you there's a lot of chatter that goes on in one's head when we hit stage. I can promise you that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go. Who's here now? Could be my daughter. Could be anybody.
Go get him, Joey. Go get her, Joey.
Joey's an attack dog, isn't he?
He's my alpha boy.
That is
He's
a alpha.
Mama's boy.
That is so true.
Because it's 2 boy dogs and me. And
Levi! Joey's coming
He's
up!
getting your way.
He's coming to you. I mean...
But no, the chatter and on stage.
Constant.
Yeah, totally. I know.
And I have kids now that chatter to me over the last 18 years, and sometimes it's made me, the buttons that push, right? My parents and your mom, my dad, don't we all know? Taking charge of your life. You were also known as, very young Debbie Gibson, when you first started out. And I just always remember that it was like, who's in charge of who? When do you take charge of your life?
Right.
When are we allowed? And as women, oftentimes I find that we weren't allowed. It wasn't recommended that we speak our mind and speak our voice. And
true.
I know I kind of paved the way a lot with that, and for better, for good, the bad, and the ugly. But I know I can sit here as a Kelly Clarkson can and say that, you know what, it's part of the journey. And the chatter will always get you down, the negative chatter. And sitting here today, 30 years later, with somebody like you, and when we're still enjoying our ride so much.
Yes, more than ever, really.
Yeah.
Really, truly. Like
I couldn't take it in then, could you?
No, that's the thing. I can't.
Nobody gets it, but you don't.
I just said, so the tour this summer, it was like, I don't talk about the torturous part, but because my body hadn't been demanded of in that way since getting really sick, it was challenging. I was in practitioners' offices, and I was taking homeopathics, and I was meditating 16 times
And
a
we
day.
share like some beautiful
Like all
people that do body work on her
Yes.
over the years. Just incredible. So
Yes,
I know a lot of
incredible.
the
And she was with me.
Yes.
But with that said, I made up my mind to like on the bus, like, and I was sleeping on the bus like 5 to 6
Oh,
nights
Donnie
a week.
Wahlberg doesn't mess around. Hi, Donnie.
Hi, Donnie.
We already know you're like 6 days a week, make the
Hardcore.
money, and back to black,
Right.
but
And
blue
I
bloods.
didn't have the bus Donnie had. So, you know,
We love you.
Well, with that said, I was like, really like, okay, everybody's romantic fantasy as a kid, I don't care who you are, is like to be on a tour bus. Right? So I took that and I was like, I am on a freaking tour bus. I am going to savor this moment so much. And I'm on a tour bus 33 years into a career.
Yeah.
And I was watching the country go by, and my dogs were with me. And I was like, I am so lucky right now. And I took in every moment, like I could viscerally feel the backstage, hearing Tiffany and my monitor before me. I'm like, how cool is that? And then, you know, and New Kids are there,
Or
and then
Salt,
Salt and Pepper's there,
yeah.
and then Naughty by Nature's there. And I'm like, what an incredible opportunity. I never had an entitlement thing. I always had like a gratitude thing. And
You're lucky. You're quite fortunate.
I always feel, I mean, and like my challenge.
Can you receive?
Well, that's what that says. My challenge has been to own who I am and what I do. I have found that, like I said to you before we turned the cameras on, I always feel like the uncool kid who's like in awe of everybody else. So if somebody like compliments me, I go, really? Oh, okay. But like
I can understand.
working on
I
the
relate.
Lucifer set the other day, it was a moment of this perfect balance of being in awe of the situation, but owning the fact that, I can come to the table and play tennis with the big boys because I've been a professional. It's not that I think I'm the greatest actress in the world, but I've been a professional in this business long enough to be able to be in that setting and feel comfortable. So I was able to drop all the crap and all the voices and just enjoy. And that was like such a gift. And I felt like it was one of my favorite career days ever because of that. And then the energy going back and forth between the crew and the cast and me and the exchange and the respect, and it was all there. And I celebrated it and just...
Energy was elevated in the room. And
Yes.
when people ask us, like, what it feels like, so when I'm on, you felt you could receive this energy that was going around, and the reciprocity was coming out of you, believe it or not, because they were getting what you were giving.
Right.
And
consequently, my stamina was off the charts. Like, so that's what I mean about health. So I questioned when I got sick, why aren't I getting nourished enough in my life for my stamina to be kicking this disease out of my body?
Okay.
Like, so, and that's when I started to fine tune where I lived and who I was hanging out with and what I was eating and what I was reading and what I was watching. And because it's either taking you down or it's lifting you up.
So true.
So like having that day the other day, I had my little teamer. I love my team, my people. They were all there.
Okay, so you really put a good team around yourself.
Yeah, and it's just all like family, and I've got a lot of good around me.
Okay, so that's really key. It certainly is key. And I look at that for myself the same way, and I know we always do, because you're always trying to fine tune it, especially if your goal is to stay in this game, to stay in this work, and enjoy this time in this work.
Yeah.
Enjoying it is key, really enjoying the time. So that's about, I think, more than that. That's the internal, letting it in, receiving, reciprocity. At the end of every concert now, there's this moment where, and I worked with a life coach. I mean, I had to learn how to receive.
Awesome.
I had to really learn
I get
how
it.
to take those moments.
Well, when
because
you're the provider,
touring was
when you're the boss, the provider, that it is uncomfortable.
It is. And also, as a woman, I think it's uncomfortable when things are being thrown at you, accolades. I think some people are very comfortable with just like, you're amazing, you're this. But when you don't take it in, and not that you need it from the other, you need it from the source that you know is going to feed you. My sources are nature, food, what I give to myself, a meditation, a slowness, knowing the gratitude of the work that I've done. I love having purpose. My purpose is obviously my voice. We've discussed this now as we've had this conversation, but my purpose of my voice is to heal. Okay?
Absolutely.
It heals. And not just me. It heals the world.
No, it lifts people. Anybody
It
who
really
enjoys
does.
It. Yes, it does.
So at the end, I found this meridian. She taught me how to do it, and I do this thing where take this moment when everybody's like, wow, right? Right after Love Will Lead You Back or something, or Tell It to My Heart.
Yeah.
And I stop, and I just go, receive it, take it, look at it, open your heart, take it in. And they see this and this energy, it just goes higher and higher. And then I get it and I scoop it, right into my heart, right in.
I love that.
And then I say, you always want to know what it feels like? This is it. This is true love. This is bliss. This is purpose. And that's how I learned it. And it was a teacher, and we all need our teachers in our life, and she taught me this. But it's been one of the most incredible. Touring has taken on this whole other.
That's amazing.
Right.
But I can
Joy
feel
again.
it, like I can feel it from your posts. I can feel it. I can hear it in your voice. And I feel like you make, because you're like a good old-fashioned hard work story, as am I feel like what you do for people is like you make people feel like things are possible when they hear your voice, because it's coming from all of you. It makes me emotional. It does, because it's a very moving thing we get to do.
We move mountains.
It's a thing we get to do, and we get to. But you
Dad.
love us. Oh, but you also something so important. Like we commune with people, and I feel like it's a shared experience, and the audience is we're all together in the same room having the same experience.
And I have to say, I didn't learn that. I mean, I was so caught up in the competition, the charting, the numbers, right? God, for the first 15, 20 years of what we were doing. I mean, I know that. So it's only been over the last 15 years, 10 years where I'm really just falling into that enjoyment.
I hear you. When I see people now that are younger and are more fixated on the end result, I get, like, I want to teach them or share what I know, but they might just have to figure it out for themselves. But I want to go, just start with your art and do what you love to do, and the rest will follow. Because if you start chasing the trends and the charts and the this and the that, you're going to be missing, the little spotlight's going to be missing you, and you're going to be missing it anyway, and then you're losing your integrity and you're wearing yourself out. Like, but if you just get still, because Lord knows we've had lots of, like, hits that unfortunately weren't really hits on the chart. Doesn't make them less worthy songs.
You really believe that?
Absolutely.
Well, see, she's doing better than I am.
I feel like, listen, having a hit is like everything has to align at one time.
So true.
It doesn't mean that there aren't these hidden gems on our records that didn't see the light of day, that other people, though, have, as you know, taken in as their, like, children, and, like, they feel like they're even more special because not everybody in the world knows that.
That's of course. And we feel that about other artists. I know I have.
Yeah.
I know I look at them through their catalog. Yes, of course.
Yeah. So I just feel like you keep doing what you do, period, end of story. That's why I'm so grateful for this moment, because I haven't changed anything I've done.
Okay, so just so you guys know, this is so honest. She just texted me yesterday. She goes, Taylor, I'm in town, love to see you, and I want to talk to you about bone broth. Simple, easy. And she knows I'm the queen of this crap, and it's just, but what I showed you earlier and what she's doing, I mean, but she knows you're then going to take the information and she's going to tailor it for her needs.
Yes.
So she can't handle the powders. I need the powders because when I tour, I want everything with me. I want these little babies because this to me is my secret magic bullet of nourishment, self-love, and taking the time. Rufito, Papacito. So...
But so here we are. I didn't know. I was staying like 10, 15 minutes down the street from her, so here we are. I love it. What a fun hang. You guys, fun hanging out with you.
If you have any other questions or anything, like oftentimes if you guys have questions, send it up. Debbie's so obviously incredible on her social media. I'm sure you're posting, I'm posting, we'll repost it, but... You know where
Joey will post it.
You know where to find us. Joey will post it. We have Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Rachel and JT.
Hello.
That's who's holding our little...
Best assistant ever.
Best assistant ever. Well, Rachel's a law student.
I'm a law student. I'm not an assistant.
She'll be one of our... she's our
Yeah.
next Dina LaPolte.
Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah, she is.
Amazing. I hear things like that and I go, what have I ever done with my life?
No.
Well, you know what? I think a lot of what you were saying about the competition, that really resonated with me, because whether you're in music or you're not, like in law school, it's all based on a curve, right? I'm in my first year now, and everyone is so competitive.
Absolutely.
And the energy is just... So what you were saying really resonated with me, and I feel like resonated with so many.
Yeah, just be you.
Yeah.
Just be you.
Exactly.
Well,
Authenticity. That's my favorite word.
what is it?
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
Like on the show, the boys I just played, the America's Most Musical Family, I look for authenticity, like people just knew who they were and were unshakable in that.
Wow.
Like, be open to collaborate with people, but
Absolutely.
ultimately go, that doesn't fit me, or that does fit me, that resonates, but, you know, not like, yeah, I'll try whatever it takes to be successful. It's like, that energy doesn't.
Well, did you feel that that was a problem when you were first breaking and when you were making hit records?
I mean, for me, it wasn't like I knew who I was, and
Right.
my mom, you know, like, who had a reputation, obviously. Reputation or not, she protected that for me.
Okay.
Because, you know, a 16-year-old wasn't going to get in the room with Ahmed Erdogan and Doug Morris and say, no, I want to produce this record, but she did it for me. I want to tell her story someday. Her story's
Kind of
fascinating.
amazing.
Bye, Mom.
Okay? And I choose to basically go it alone. Like, really, I was just like, I don't want to hear the voice of anything. I had my partner, it was Rick Wake, and
Yeah.
we just, I found
lived
that
across
I
the
was with
street from me.
Yeah, literally. That's how we ended up living in the same.
Hysterical.
I know.
And Dee Snider. He was along
Oh my
the same.
God, Dee.
He was like on the
Or-
same block also.
And the Bee Gees.
The Bee Gees? What were the Bee Gees there?
Hey, they all own that property, but yes,
I
of
might have
course.
moved,
But we know
I don't
Billy
know.
Joel lived there. He
He lived
started
there.
the
I
area.
know.
He
My
started
fave.
our little
My
neighborhood.
favorite.
Yeah, Billy.
Love it.
I love it.
Amazing girl.
Okay. Well, we love you guys, and I love you.
I love you. This was so fun.
Mwah.
I bet your Orphe's watching this. Orphe, are you
Oh
watching?
yeah, Orphe. Well,
I always see her like your posts.
Are we live? So how do we know who's watching? Did Orphe probably said, "You girls, I
don't know.
can't even believe."
I'll text her.
I know, we'll tell her.
She's gonna. I
But
love
look at
her.
this. Look at these mad. Look at this Mad Hatter.
He's like, why won't you
Why are
text
you
her?
mellow, Joey?
He's so, he's an emotional little critter.
Emotional. He's sleeping.
He's like,
He's
I'm
resting.
okay to be in my own space right now. He's very
Aw.
intense. He's my little puppy soulmate.
I love it.
My puppy soulmate.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. So we good? Are we good? Love, light, and happiness, guys. Happy Sunday,
Bye,
fun day,
guys. Happy
family.
Fun Day.